that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. We are not engaged in civil war today, thank heavens. We are perpetually engaged throughout the history of our nation in a defense of our liberties, our life, and our happiness. We are in constant defense of our Constitution from enemies both foreign and domestic. Let us, in front of Weber High School today, be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us. That from the honored dead, let us take increased devotion to our country, our God, and our precious way of life. If we can unite in this cause, the cause of liberty, the cause of our God, then we can shatter the bands of political conflict that test this nation today. The Constitution that our forefathers forged with their very lives will live on, and this government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish.
We'd like to invite Principal Elsnab to please come forward. While the principal is coming forward, I'd like to mention that last Saturday there was a banquet held here in this area to celebrate the 223rd anniversary of the signing of the Constitution. And we had hoped to recognize Principal Elsnab at that time, but he had obligations out of state, and so we're very grateful for the opportunity to recognize him now. You may not know this, but Principal Elsnab is an All-American. He's won several contests in swimming and has been recognized as an All-American swimmer. In fact, I was delighted to find on the internet a video about the principal that has been published by the University of Utah. The principal is now in the Crimson Hall of Fame, and we congratulate Principal Elsnab for that honor. As we think about Principal Elsnab in his life, he has dedicated his life to the youth of America. He has spent many years as a coach, many years in administration, as an assistant principal, and as a principal. Today we recognize the principal because of his example and the fact that he is a role model to our youth. Let me share with you a quote by John Adams. John Adams said, "Public virtue cannot exist in a nation without private, and public virtue is the only foundation of republics." Principal Elsnab, we wish to express our gratitude to you for your public virtue, for the goodness that you provide to this school and to our youth, and by being a man of virtue, you support our Constitution and our great republic. We thank you. The Sons of the American Revolution would like to recognize you with the Bronze Good Citizen Medal. It's my privilege and pleasure to present this to you at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Principal Elsnab. It is now my pleasure to present to you Colonel Hess, retired Air Force. Colonel Hess.
I think you guys are a bunch of radicals out here this time of day. And I want to talk about that a little bit more. But so my calendar says it's the 17th of September, It's the third Friday in September, and it also said it's Citizenship Day and POW MIA Day, and so I'm going to put on my POW scarf, which has the emblem of the POW medal and the camps that we were in North Vietnam. So in just a minute, I would like you to contemplate the blessings of liberty, freedom. Some experiences change us. Certainly 5.5 years in a prison camp in North Vietnam changed me. I sometimes say I went to Vietnam a fighter pilot. I came back a born-again American. A couple of weeks ago, one of my cellmates sent me a picture of he and his wife. He was in a blue coat, she was in a red coat, and they both held up signs, and one of those signs said, "Save our Constitution." The other sign said, "Live the American dream, work." I thought that's the message I'd like to leave with you today. Save our Constitution, live the American dream, work. So, what is the price of freedom? What is the price of liberty? Let me just tell you about one of the most daring events in the Vietnam War. 260 people volunteered to try to rescue 61 POWs that were in a camp at Son Tay, 21 miles west of Hanoi. Under the leadership of Colonel Bull Simons, they built a replica of this prison camp at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. They trained for every eventuality. They planned to crash a helicopter into the prison compound because there was not enough clearance for the rotor blades. It would hit the trees. And then they would cut the bolts, cut the locks off the doors and carry the POWs outside the helicopters that had been there to rest, to pick them up. And so we have 100 aircraft involved, 260 men. The Navy launched from 2 carriers a diversion attack in the Hanoi area. And so as I was in a camp not far from Son Tay, 2 a.m. in the morning of the 21st of November 1970, the ground began to shake and the sky lit with surface air missiles and anti-aircraft fire. Well, the raid was unsuccessful. There were no POWs there. I just mentioned that although it was unsuccessful, great courage and encouragement to those of us who were there as we later found out what had happened. You mean somebody cares enough to do something like that? So that's my message. Just care enough to support and to defend the Constitution, to save it, to ensure liberty for ourselves and our posterity.
Thank you to all those who have spoken today and for reminding us what a blessing it is to live in this wonderful country. We will have a flag presentation by the Key Club, and then Bryce Hales will give our benediction.